Oh, wow. Is this the room that I think it is? This is where we would look out at the very beginning and end of Myst Exile. So coming to Tomahna brings you to this chamber. And that's actually the exact same footage. Yeesha remembering being a baby and being coddled here. This is the old study. I want to see what's happened to it. So this is where Relishan had been kept. And the old tapestries, but they're mostly burnt. That's quite a flashback to the previous game. It looks like he had to vacate most of his things from this library. I wonder if even Riven and everything else was... Oh, there's Sirrus and Achenar's picture. A journal. Huh. The first time I placed my hand on Serenia's linking panel. This must all be about Serenia.
The first time I placed my hand on Serenia's linking panel, I remember thinking, this age will be unlike any I've journeyed to so far. And it was. The sky was crisp and clear. The rivers and waterfalls sparkled like diamonds. Even the worn paths threading through the canopies of stone took my breath away. I met a group of women who told me they had been expecting me, and as we talked late into the evening, they did seem to know a lot about me. Yet the more they explained why, the more impossible their story seemed. Of course, Catherine's ages have always struck me as impossible. Why should this one have been different? One of the stories the Protectors told me.
Oh, so he had linked to this age for the first time, and once again, the whole thing about Catherine's ages being spectacular. And they did talk like they do us, too. They saw us in dream.
That is what they called themselves. Moves me to this day. Many lifetimes ago, a child from the village contracted a fever and died. His parents, who had loved him very much, decided to bury him under a waterfall and built a balloon to take him there. The parents' grief was so strong, however, that when they landed their balloon, they could only carry the child a short way. So they set him down beside a giant flower and slept. All night, the mother's tears never stopped flowing. Eventually, they sank through the ground and bathed the flower's roots. Moved by the tears, the flower told the parents to carry their child into her epistle. She would preserve his memories so they could visit him whenever they wished. Then the flower passed one of the tears back through her roots, turning it into a container to hold memories, and the father dove underwater to collect it. And that is how the memory chamber first displayed her power to the Serenians. Having read Catherine's descriptive book, I realized that the plant the Protectors called the memory chamber is but the fruiting body of a massive fungus. Like any fungus, it recycles dead organic material into nutrients. In this case, filled memory globes. Since Yeesha has recently asked to see Serenia, I will share this explanation with her, as I did her brothers when they were her age. Yet I cannot help thinking that my scientific understanding of Serenia pales in comparison to the Protector's simple tale. I had not fully realized how many years have passed since I visited this age. So when I stepped out of the linking cave with Yeesha, I was pleased to see only a little has changed. A new group of women have replaced the protectors I knew, but they seemed to be as friendly as the first. Yeesha took an immediate liking to the one called Anya, and as we made our plans to spend more time here in the future, I felt confident our relationship with these women would be mutually beneficial. After an absence of several weeks, we returned to Serenia last night. Catherine agreed to accompany us, so we will stay for a week or more. This morning, I took advantage of Catherine's presence to re-explore alone. My route soon took me beyond Serenia's current memory chamber to the old abandoned flower which had served the village centuries ago. The man-made edifice surrounding the chamber looked much the same as I remembered, although the flower itself was in far worse state of decay. I tried opening the door to explore inside, but found it locked. Just as well. 30 years ago, the protectors told me how the delicate inner heart of the chamber emits a strong fragrance as part of its reproductive cycle. The closer the chamber gets to maturation, the more toxic this gas becomes, forcing the protectors to find a new flower for their use. No doubt the collected fumes inside the original chamber would have made it impossible for me to survive there very long. Catherine says I should have seen it coming, but this morning, Yeesha asked permission to meet Serenia's ancestors. I tried to explain that the place the protectors called Dream is not real. How can it be? But she insists on finding out for herself. So what am I to do? I suppose it will do no harm to let her try. From what Anya told me, it should take several months for Yeesha to learn how to dream. And it has certainly been a while since I've had enough free time to concentrate on the crystal viewer's attachment. Keeping my inquisitive daughter occupied may end up being beneficial for us all. I cannot believe how quickly time has flown. Today we attended a ceremony on Serenia's celebrating Yeesha's mastery of their customs. I must admit, although my doubts about the dream realm remain, seeing my daughter's pride as she received the protector's necklace made it all seem worthwhile. Yeesha said something strange during our writing lesson today. She thought it was sad that Catherine rarely writes anymore, and asked if we should explain that just because someone dies after visiting an age doesn't mean the age's writer is responsible. I knew immediately she was talking about my grandmother. Yet Catherine and I have never fully described Anna's death, so how she knew this information is a mystery. When I asked, she said her necklace had said something while she was holding Anna's picture. The answer was completely unsatisfactory. Yet I must admit, Yeesha had displayed an uncanny knowledge of things she never witnessed ever since receiving the Protector's gift. I'd like to examine this necklace more closely, but at the moment the situation with Sirrus and Achenar takes precedence. Perhaps after my friend leaves us tomorrow.
So I wonder if we're the friend. And so the old chamber has poisonous gases in it. But somehow Sirrus and Achenar are able to use it? And Anna died on Serenia? Maybe that's why Catherine doesn't write any more ages? Okay. And that's another way for us to get back to Serenia. And I wonder where this door goes. I believe we hadn't been through here before. Oh, it was locked. One of the garden rooms. Any memories? Memories.
The poor thing. Sirrus said he tried everything he could, but it just didn't like living in his garden. A few days in here, and I bet you it will look much better.
Oh, so she tried giving flowers to Sirrus, but they wouldn't survive on his world? And I still feel bad about the beetles. I'm sorry, Yeesha. I didn't mean to let go of your beetles. Well, let your beetles go, I should say. Well, we want to get back down to the chamber. I wonder if there's any more memories of Yeesha's. Probably down here.
This is only part of our family tree, Yeesha. If we wanted to, we could trace our lineage all the way back to when our ancestors first arrived in Dunny.
Yeah, that was our most immediate family tree. Can we call this back? Yeah, let's call it back. So now we know that Yeesha is being trapped on Serenia against her will, shackled. Possibly inside the dead flower that has been expunged of all its toxic gases. The brothers are collecting orbs. Empty orbs. I really hope they don't intend to, like, steal her memories. But then Achenar warned us not to bring Atrus. We know that Sirrus and Achenar want to kill Atrus. But would they kill him and get his memories? I mean, it would provide them with a lot of knowledge. But what is their goal? They could have easily been reintegrated. They could have been welcomed back. Atrus and Catherine were actually willing to overlook their pasts and try to bring them back if they've reformed. Also, how are the brothers able to create a conniving plan with one another? They wouldn't have any contact with one another at all. All right, have to pull this. Okay, let's spin this around. And we'll probably want to explore Sirrus's age. Maybe he has an answer for some kind of puzzle. Let's go to Spire. Another stormy world. With crystal, hard stone, winds. And there's the way for us to get back to Tomahna.
Dad told me you never wanted to learn Donnie when you were little. That's why he never taught you.
I guess I didn't back then. I was having too much fun learning other stuff. I was pretty stupid back then.
Here, maybe you should try learning now. With me.
Really? You'll teach me, Dunny?
Why not? Somebody should.
So Yeesha was teaching him about Dunny. Or Denis. I always called it Denis ever since I was little. Wow. There's just a constellation-filled starry sky here. Those almost look like archways of some kind of greater structure that's since long crumbled into this endless cloudy chasm. Can't even see below the storm clouds. I can't tell if that's some kind of dim sun or brightly lit moon. I don't believe there was... Was there a memory around here? Oh yes, yeah, there was the memory with the book. But was there something... Yeah, there is a memory associated with this. Oh. Now, from what I've gathered, when we were all the way back in Tomahna, and that green light occurred, the very same green light that Sirrus had used to blow up the Harvester, it's likely that Sirrus was the one that crafted whatever explosive it was, broke his way out here, and then freed Achenar? Well, maybe he was the one that abducted Yeesha, brought her to Achenar's world, and then maybe told him his plan? Oh, more crystals. Probably the same crystal that Sirrus had used to carve the water elemental, well, the water spirit, for Yeesha. Well, it's a long way down. Now there's a path to the right, and some kind of elevator? Ah, but it looks broken. And it's a long way down. Don't want to deal with that at the moment. Well, looks like we have to go down this way. Oh, I love all these greens. The green's contrasting with like the navy and the gray. It's a really pretty aesthetic, but unlike the hot jungles, this just seems like a cold realm to be trapped on. Oh, wow. That looks like a carving of the painting from when Sirrus and Achenar were little boys and Atrus and Catherine lived with them on Myst Island.
Come on. You must have seen it 1,000,000 times growing up. What was it like? Father was writing. Mother was. Left of him. Who had the boat? I had the boat. Yes. Yes, I had the boat.
Huh. So he was trying to remember which of the two actually had the boat. It looks like one boy is grabbing the other boy's hands. So there's a path that way. There's stuff down here. Camping equipment? Mining? Oh, a campfire.
I thought I was the only devious one in our family. But this... Oh, this is classic. No book, father, no linking. Fuck! Oh! Thanks, Chris. Think.
Oh. So this was the moment when he was trapped here and realized that he had no way out. Achenar was trifling through various treasure chests and anything that he could find in the shipwreck to try to find a way out. But Sirrus was left here in the cold, all alone. He always prided himself for his intellect, but... Okay, well, I'll go this way. There is that other path up and around that way, but I'll go this way first. Oh, wow. There's a platform of some sort. Wow. Just how far down this goes? That's interesting. There seems to be a tab there. Like something was meant to be put in a particular position. Okay, I'll write down these notes for Spire. Okay, so I don't think I can interact with this. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's 9 of them total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's the 6th one. So I wonder if there's a particular setting or something we're gonna have to do with this, or something similar to it. Huh. It looks like a pentagonal shape, making sort of a whistling noise, and there's a crystal sitting in it, but it wasn't here before. And there's a tunnel.
Double passed through both loops. Beautiful knot. Let's just hope the linking book is down there.
Oh, so that was Sirrus tying a rope. He was trying to memorize the knot forms, but it looks like it's snapped. I won't go down that immediately. Don't want to be stuck somewhere where I can't get out. So I suppose I'll go up here. Yep, that's his campsite. Nothing else in this corner. Yeah, let's go to this path. Oh, wow. Quite the chandelier, made out of crystal. Now, does this seem to be a functioning elevator? Anything? I'm hearing something. Okay. Well, at least we'll always have this way up. Oh, and I absolutely love the music here. I wonder if they actually used glass to make these sounds, or synthesizers. All right. On the way down. Oh. Everything's green down here. The carved columns. Almost looks like what you would find in Lord of the Rings with the dwarves. Okay, so that must be the button to call it back. Oh, there seem to be 2 chords. One's blue and one's red. Probably it's what provides power. Now these rocks are floating and tethered to the ground with chains. Okay, let's see what's out here. Another floating rock. Oh, wow. There's a whole... I suppose it's not quite an asteroid belt, but there is a belt of floating debris.
Impossible. Every scientific principle I know tells me these rocks shouldn't be floating. And yet, somehow, they are. Don't know how you did it, Father. But if you can write it, I can certainly use it.
So that's Sirrus trying to harness the rocks on this world? Oh, another ladder. I'll go over here. It looks like there's a desk. Like a lab. A telescope.
Has to be fake. Has to be. But will getting to it allow me to finally reach the ground? Have to know. Have to get over there.
So, through this telescope, Sirrus could see what looks to be another elevator, another top to a tower. And he needed to get over there, so he seemed to have crafted this. Some kind of tram system?
Remarkable. No change to its molecular structure, no buildup of illumination inside. As long as the crystal remains grounded, electricity just passes straight through it. Interesting.
So that's the floating green rock, and this is the silver rock. Oh, is this a wheel? Oh, is that some kind of magnet or means to bring it back? And then it floats up again. And then this somehow provides power to this? Is it indefinite or will it fade? No, it does fade. Now, there's this little peg down there. I wonder if I can do something with it. No. Huh. Interesting. So there are two different types of crystals that he's employing here. Another journal. Well, let me look at what the contents of this are. Oh, no. Just electrical tape and stuff. Well, let's look at the journal.
It appears that I have underestimated him. I did not think he could be this devious. He always said Spire was dangerous, but I assumed he meant its people were violent. Violent and potentially xenophobic. The perfect combination with which to orchestrate a coup. But there are no people here. No prosperous civilization for me to rule. I see now how his linking panel fooled me. Congratulations, Father. This hand goes to you.
Ooh. Whereas Achenar just seemed to be filled with anger and desperation, Sirrus is... he's already conniving. Apparently, he thought that if there were violent people on this world, that he would orchestrate a coup and take it over for himself. I mean, it is true that in Myst, we discover that he was extorting the people. He was taxing them, stealing from them their wealth. But he was hoping to rule them? Is it sort of like how he and Achenar had gone to Saavedra's world of Narayan and promised to fix it? Whereas that was something that their father wouldn't do? No prosperous civilization for me to rule. Ugh. And he refers to this as a game. This hand goes to you.
I have established a temporary encampment near the vegetal cavern. The food I brought with me should last a month. After that, I will be forced to grow what I eat. The plants here are neither scrumptious nor overly abundant, but I have tasted several and find the nutrition is there. Turning now to the question of escape. I believe there may yet be a Myst linking book here. The simplest way for Father to have disposed of it would have been to jump off the palace as he touched it. There are other ways, of course, but I cannot ignore this possibility. I must at least attempt to reach the ground. This is fast becoming unacceptable. I have slid down every oddly shaped windpipe in this age, and have yet to see below the second cloud layer. I was fairly certain that at least 3 of the passages would prove successful. Yet even they dead-ended inside a magnificent sealed cavern full of crystals. The crystals themselves are curious. Something about their inner matrix makes them susceptible to a buildup of negative charges. When I touched one, I received a terrible shock. At the same time, the faint light that had been emanating from the crystal faded, and I heard a very curious hum, which ceased as soon as the crystal's charge was expended. I should like to study these crystals more thoroughly, and will institute a plan to mine the cavern extensively. Last night, I saw lights flickering in some of the other palaces. It occurred to me that I might not be alone. What if this age is like Stone Ship? Father never could explain how Emmett and Branch just appeared there. He said the art was always surprising him. Could it be that the lights I saw flickering were made by other people? What I would give to discover this is true. After all these months of solitude, just to have another person to talk to. About the floating rocks. There is a phosphorescent green mineral running through much of this age which exhibits strong diamagnetic properties. At least that is the most workable hypothesis I have devised that can explain how the rocks I see outside my garden are able to float. This has given me an idea. If I can capture one of the larger boulders, I should be able to turn it into a vessel, and thereby sail across the clouds to the nearest palace.
Okay. So, all alone he's left on this age, but he suspects that there are other people potentially. He's been sliding down those tubes, that must be what we saw earlier, but has never gotten below the second cloud layer. I suppose what we're seeing is the first. And yeah, he wants to float to that other island.
The most difficult obstacle to achieving this will be maintaining the necessary altitude. I have noticed that these rocks float higher than the highest point on that palace. Forcing my ship to float lower than it prefers will take some doing. For the past few weeks, I've been watching storms move through the second cloud layer. They appear as flashes of light inside the strata. The violence of these storms does not reach me in the garden. I encounter no rain, barely feel the wind. I am completely safe here, nestled between layers. I do not know how this is possible. How could Father have created a world which exhibits so many scientific impossibilities? He never did explain how to write an age. He never taught Achenar or I the art. I wonder now if I should have insisted. The crystals I mined from the lower cavern are really quite remarkable. There seems to be no limit to the amount of electricity they can store. Unfortunately, this makes working with them difficult. So long as a charged crystal is isolated, the energy inside it remains trapped in its matrix. But the moment the crystal even brushes against a grounded object, stored charge flows out, producing a most amazing song. I should like to capitalize on this singing ability, if only as a pleasant diversion. It might be nice to hear some music in these caverns.
Oh, and this over here, the carved crystal, looks a lot like the woman that we found on Achenar's world that was broken. It's possible that Sirrus had brought it with him, or that it was given to Achenar later.
Pleasant diversion. It might be nice to hear some music in these caverns. Regardless, I believe the crystals can solve my rock ship problem. By affixing them to some of the floating rocks, then casting them back into the clouds, I should be able to harness enough of Spire's natural electricity to fuel an electromagnet. The attractive force of the magnet, combined with the smaller magnetic fields of the lightning conductors, should be able to lower the ship and guide it to the nearest palace. It is definitely worth an attempt. Another storm is brewing as I write this. I can feel the hairs on my arms starting to rise. I'm almost crazed with anticipation, waiting to test the first conductor. My God, is this what Father felt? Every time his hand hovered above the panel of a book he'd just written? Did he feel this much excitement as he stood poised to learn of his theories and works? Why did he never share this with me? If he had, perhaps things could have been different between us. The first conductor is glowing. Here goes nothing. No, 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 no! My calculations were perfect! The ship should not have broken free. The distance between the conductors must be too great. I'm going to have to add more to the system, but if I do, the electromagnetic pull will be too strong and the ship will crash to the floor. So can I counterbalance it? Create a second electromagnet in the roof of the garden.
So he's conducting a number of experiments, and he's lamenting the fact that his father never taught him the art of writing. But would he have succumbed to the same fate as Gen, writing worlds only to seek to rule them? It's probably why, in part, Atrus had actually held back in teaching them.
I'm going to have to start building again! And capture another rock for a ship. This mistake has set me back years! But I am close, so close to reaching the nearest palace, and from there maybe accessing the ground. I only hope the linking book still works.
Only there might not be a linking book here for you, Sirrus. And maybe that's why he went to extreme measures to create his own way out.